I'm 73, and it took me 52 years to learn this. That's more than half a century of searching, stumbling, and sometimes running in circles, chasing things I thought mattered, only to discover, much later, that I'd been looking in the wrong places all along. If you're watching this, I want you to hear me clearly. Don't waste your years like I did. Time is the one thing you can never get back, and the lessons you ignore today will become the regrets you carry tomorrow. When I was young, I thought I had all the time in the world. I believed that happiness was something you found at the end of a long road after you'd achieved enough, earned enough, or impressed enough people. I measured my life by milestones and checklists, always looking ahead, never stopping to ask if I was even on the right path. Decades slipped by in a blur of busyness and distraction, and I convinced myself that someday I'd finally arrive. But here's the truth. Someday never comes unless you make it happen. The lesson I learned far too late for my liking isn't about money or status or even success. It's about something deeper, something most people overlook until it's almost too late. I'm sharing this now because I don't want you to spend 50 years searching for what's right in front of you. Let me take you back to where it all began, and maybe, just maybe, you'll see your own story in mine. At 21, the world felt infinite. I remember standing on the edge of adulthood, heart pounding with possibility, convinced that my life would be a grand adventure. I had dreams that stretched as far as the horizon, dreams of success, recognition, and making my mark. I thought life was a race, and I was determined to sprint ahead, to prove myself, to gather achievements like trophies on a shelf. Every decision felt monumental, every setback a sign that I needed to try harder, move faster, do more. Back then, I believed happiness was something you earned. I thought if I worked hard enough, if I impressed the right people, if I checked off all the boxes, degree, job, house, family, then fulfillment would naturally follow. I measured my worth by how busy I was, how many people admired me, how quickly I could climb the invisible ladder everyone seemed to be racing up. I was certain that life was about building a resume, collecting experiences, and never letting anyone see me falter. But what I know now is so different from what I believed then. I see how much of my energy was spent chasing approval, how often I ignored my own voice in favor of what others expected. I see the moments I missed because I was too focused on the next goal, the relationships I neglected, the simple joys I overlooked. The truth is, life isn't a race or a checklist. It's not about being the fastest, the richest, or the most admired. It's about being present, being true to yourself, and finding meaning in the ordinary moments. If I could speak to my 21-year-old self, I'd tell him to slow down, to listen more, and to trust that he's enough just as he is. After those early years of ambition, I threw myself headlong into the chase. My 20s and 30s became a blur of late nights at the office, endless meetings, and a calendar so full it left little room for anything else. I told myself I was building a future, that every sacrifice would pay off in the end. Promotions came, and with them, a bigger house, a nicer car, and the kind of respect I thought I'd always wanted. On the outside, it looked like I was winning, but inside, a quiet emptiness began to grow, a feeling I couldn't quite name, a sense that something essential was slipping through my fingers. I became an expert at distraction. If I felt restless, I worked harder. If I felt lonely, I filled my days with noise, social events, new gadgets, the next big purchase. I convinced myself that happiness was just around the corner, waiting for me at the next milestone. But every time I reached one, the satisfaction faded faster than I expected, replaced by a new goal, a new reason to keep running. I watched friends drift away, relationships grow shallow, and moments of real connection become rare. I told myself I was too busy to notice, too focused to care. As the years passed, the cost of this relentless pursuit became harder to ignore. I missed birthdays, anniversaries, and quiet evenings at home. I lost touch with old friends, and even when I was with family, my mind was often elsewhere, thinking about work, about what I hadn't yet achieved. There were flashes of joy, of course, but they were fleeting, overshadowed by the constant pressure to do more, be more, have more. It took decades for the realization to sink in. The life I'd built was impressive on paper, but it felt hollow in my heart. I started to wonder if I'd been climbing the wrong ladder all along, if the things I'd chased so fiercely were just distractions from what really mattered. The truth crept in slowly, quietly, until I could no longer ignore the ache of something missing, a longing for meaning, for connection, for a sense of peace I'd never truly known. There's a price to waiting, and it's steeper than most people ever imagine. Most people only realize this when it's too late, when the years have slipped by and the chances they thought would always be there have quietly vanished. I know because I lived it. The cost isn't just measured in lost time, but in the moments you can never get back, the words you never said, the people you let drift away while you were busy chasing something else. I think about the birthdays I missed, the family dinners I skipped, the friends I promised to call but never did. I remember the look in my children's eyes when I was too distracted to listen, the quiet disappointment in my partner's voice when I canceled plans yet again. These are the debts that accumulate slowly, almost invisibly, until one day you wake up and realize the balance is heartbreakingly high. The world keeps moving, and the people you love move on too, sometimes growing distant, sometimes simply gone. The practical costs are real, but it's the emotional toll that lingers. There's an emptiness that settles in when you realize you've built a life full of things but lacking in meaning. You can fill your days with work, your house with possessions, your calendar with obligations, but none of it fills the quiet ache inside. I spent years telling myself I was doing it all for my family, for our future, but the truth is what they needed most was my presence, not my paycheck. Looking back, I see the opportunities I let slip away, chances to travel, to laugh, to simply be with the people that mattered most. I see the conversations I never had, the apologies I never made, the forgiveness I never asked for. These are the regrets that don't show up on any balance sheet, but they weigh the heaviest. If you're listening now, don't wait for a wake-up call. Don't assume you have endless tomorrows. The cost of waiting is a life half-lived, and the pain of realizing too late that what you truly needed was right in front of you all along. It's strange how a single moment can change the course of an entire life. For me, that moment didn't come with fanfare or drama. It arrived quietly, almost unnoticeably, on an ordinary afternoon that should have been like any other. I was sitting alone in my living room, the house unusually silent. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the floor. And for the first time in years, I had nothing urgent demanding my attention. No emails to answer, no meetings to prepare for, no deadlines looming over my head. Just silence and myself. I remember glancing at a photo on the mantel. It was a picture of my family, taken years earlier. We were all together, smiling, arms around each other. But as I looked closer, I realized how much had changed. My children were grown now, living lives of their own. My partner, once so close, now felt like a stranger I passed in the hallway. Friends I'd once called every week had become names I only saw on holiday cards. The house was full of memories, but it felt empty, echoing with all the things I'd missed. That's when it hit me, not as a sudden revelation, but as a slow, aching truth. I had spent decades building a life, but I'd forgotten to live it. I'd been so focused on the future that I'd let the present slip through my fingers. The people I loved most had been right there, waiting for me to notice, to show up, to be present. And I had been too busy, too distracted, too convinced that there would always be more time. In that quiet moment, I felt a wave of regret, but also a spark of hope. I realized that while I couldn't change the past, I could choose what to do with the time I had left. The lesson was suddenly clear. Life isn't about what you achieve, but about who you share it with and how deeply you show up for them. That moment of clarity changed everything. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one where I finally understood what truly matters. After those early years of ambition, I finally learned is both simple and profound. The most important thing in life is presence. Not just being physically there, but truly showing up with your heart, your attention, your love. It's about being present for the people who matter, for the moments that matter, and for yourself. It's about listening, really listening when someone speaks. It's about putting down your phone, turning away from your work, and giving the gift of your undivided attention. It's about making time, not just finding it, for the people and experiences that fill your soul. It's so easy to miss this lesson because the world constantly tells us otherwise. We're taught to chase achievement, to measure our worth by what we do, what we own, how busy we are. We're told that success is the ultimate goal and everything else can wait. But the truth is, the things that matter most can't wait. Children grow up, parents grow old, friendships fade if not nurtured, and love withers without care. The moments you think are small, shared laughter, quiet conversations, a hand held in silence, are the ones you'll long for when they're gone. I missed it for so long because I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought providing for my family meant sacrificing time with them. I thought being productive was the same as being valuable. But now I see that presence is the greatest gift you can give, and the only thing you'll truly wish you had more of when you look back. It's not about grand gestures or perfect words. It's about showing up again and again, even when it's inconvenient, even when you're tired, even when you think you have more important things to do. This lesson matters more than anything else because it's the foundation of a meaningful life. Everything else, success, wealth, recognition, fades with time. But the love you give, the memories you create, the presence you offer, those are the things that last. If you take nothing else from my story, let it be this.